Namaste, everybody. Welcome to this Friday art-based meditation. I hope you've had a very peaceful, mindful week all through. And today's art-inspired meditation will be inspired by a Naga oil lamp. And we have our lovely curator, Natalia Stein, whom I'll be introducing in a moment. And she will start with a spotlight talk, and that will be followed by our meditation practice. So let me go ahead and welcome Emma. Emma, if you're there. There. Hey, Emma.
Yes, hi.
Hello. Welcome. And Emma, I'm just going to read out your bio from the FREER website. So let's all take a moment to listen to that. Emma Natalia Stein is the Assistant Curator of South and Southeast Asian Art at the FREER Sackler Gallery, also known as the National Museum of Asian Art. She joined the FREER Gallery of Art as Curatorial Fellow for Southeast Asian Art after completing her PhD in the History of Art at the Yale University in 2017. And then she joined the curatorial staff in 2019. Her research centers on the relationship between sacred architecture and tropical landscapes in pre-modern South and Southeast Asia, with an emphasis on mapping sacred and urban space. Her exhibitions include Power in Southeast Asia and the Prehistoric Spirals Earthenwares from Thailand. This one opens in 2020. She's also created a robust online resource for Southeast Asia that connects objects in the FREER and Sackler collections with the landscapes and cultures where they originate. The website features an interactive map of sacred sites based on her decade of fieldwork in Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Myanmar, India, and Sri Lanka. She frequently presents aspects of her research and the museum collections at institutions in Asia, Europe, and the United States. And on behalf of all of our participants, I want to welcome you, Emma. It is so nice to have you here after such a long time. So good to see you. And now let me pass on the screen to you so you can enlighten us with your spotlight talk.
Thank you so much, Aparna, and welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see you. I'll just share my screen and bring us into this beautiful oil lamp that we'll be looking at today. So before us is a bronze oil lamp in the shape of a naga from the 14th century courts of Eastern Java in Indonesia. And there are sort of two aspects to this lamp that I'd like to introduce you to. There's the form and there's the function. So if we think about what the purposes of a ritual lamp might be, they're to illuminate the dark interiors of temple sanctums. Temples from 14th century East Java were sometimes built structural buildings and entire complexes surrounded by walls, or they were caves that were carved directly into the cliff faces and sides of mountains. So the temples, we might imagine, could be used for more public devotional life, and the cave temples would be more conducive to ascetic forms of solitary meditation and retreat. But in either case, those interiors with stone walls would be rather dark, and they would need lights that would illuminate the space and also bring a kind of sense of life and divinity into that sacred sanctum. So the way that a lamp like this works is you have the ornamental form of the Naga body, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then there's this dish on the top of his head. So it's a little kind of plate. And this is a form that originates in India with lamps that are burned of ghee or clarified butter. And in Indonesia, since butter was less frequent, it was often sesame oil that was burned. So the devotee would fill the dish with oil and place in a wick just made of a little piece of kind of rope or string. This is still done today. Light it, and it burns for a rather impressive amount of time. We see images of these types of lamps in relief carvings on temple walls that were built at exactly the same time. So that gives us a sense of the ways in which they were used and the fact that they were used in these devotional contexts rather than domestic contexts. All right. Now, the form of this lamp itself has one of the most prominent and ubiquitous symbols throughout the art of South and Southeast Asia. It's the Naga, or divine serpent. And you see his body here with the tail up, extending onto the chain that would be hung from a hook. And the scales on his upper body are articulated with these tiny incised kind of circles and curves. And then the belly side is a ridged rib that really looks like, like a serpent or a reptile. His head arches up and his mouth has fanged teeth. So we see that he's kind of a fierce deity. As serpents are, they're often likened to cobras or divine cobras. But at the same time, that ferocity that he embodies is a powerful sign of protection. So Nagas are auspicious symbols. They are not dangerous, evil creatures. They don't have a lot of the same associations that an actual snake might have, even at that time. But instead, they are said to guard the watery underworld that the entire universe rests on. They guard the corals and the pearls that are said to live under the ocean. They live in jeweled palaces, and they carry jewels on the top of their head. So here we see this kind of bump with a jewel emanating from the top of his head, and it's pushed back to accommodate the dish. But I have to say that when I look at this particular lamp, I also see this bump here, and I see it supporting the dish that would have held a flame. And if we imagine that flame rising from the top of the Naga's head, I like to imagine that that's a kind of metaphor for the jewels that he carries around. And maybe those are jewels of wisdom, jewels of knowledge, right? So as we look at this image, we get a sense of the kind of power that it holds, the power and potential that it holds. Now, you may notice that the Naga looks a bit like a dragon, right? And in East Java in the 14th century, this was a time of great contact, extensive contact with China and with overseas trade. So the thing that distinguishes, though, the Naga from the dragon is that it doesn't have any feet, right? So this body would have slid along the ground or swam through the waters. So Aparna will take us much more into looking at it and understanding its form, but now we have a sense of the ways in which it would have functioned at the time that it was made and the symbology that this image holds for the people who would have seen it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma, for sharing all of that wonderful information about this oil lamp. I'm sure our participants now have a good background to start their meditation practice today with. So if you have any questions for Emma, just hold them on for the next, say, about 20 minutes. We'll practice our meditation, and you can think of this as like depositing your questions into an imaginary box that you can open after the meditation and share with us. So now let's go ahead and get started with our practice. Please find a way of sitting comfortably, one where your feet can touch the floor or something underneath. The sits bones are rooted, and you can lengthen your spine. Now, in this position, if you wish to prop your back with a pillow, you may please do that. This upright spine will be quite instrumental in our meditation practice today. You may close your eyes or practice with your gaze lowered. And then let's take a few deep breaths to arrive into being here and now. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, maybe through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. And let's do 3 more breaths as if we're breathing in here. Breathing out into the now. Gently allow your attention to sweep through the body, like from the feet to the crown. Noticing where the body feels at ease. Where is it that the body is holding tension that's not purposeful? And if you wish to, if gentle movements to those body parts can relax you, can allow this tension to flow out. So you may then come back to a stillness that's sustainable for longer. Please make all those intentional movements so the movements become a path to stillness. Then just check if you need to lengthen your spine, align the head and neck with the spine. Notice your entire body's presence where you are. Notice the diverse sensations that could be present in the body. Notice how your awareness to these sensations in the body or thoughts in the mind makes you a living presence in the space that you are. In honor of that presence, let's take 3 breaths, breathing in through nose, breathing out through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. Breathe in together. Together we breathe out. Now from this place of feeling a lot more embodied, we'll gently open our eyes. Allow light to reach your eyes as opposed to reaching out. And let's begin our visual exploration of this Naga oil lamp. We first start by noticing the overall shape of this lamp. Then we go on to look closer. And if the mind is telling us that we just looked at this lamp, we know what it looks like, can we remind ourselves to embrace the beginner's attitude, starting on the premise that I may not know or I may not have seen it all? So we look at each detail with curiosity. Like that curiosity is naturally a devotion to the hands that must have carved these motifs on this lamp. Notice the shape of the serpent's head, its mouth open, sharp teeth-like structures, perhaps fangs protruding out. Bumps at the top of the head and at the crown. Zoom in into the eye that we can see. And just by looking at the eye, do we sense any emotion? If not, how's the rest of the face giving us a sense of expression that this serpent might be embodying? We wonder, what could these two curvy lines here represent? Zooming out a little bit, now let's pay attention to these ribbed structures here on the underside of the serpent or the belly side. On the top side or the dorsal side, we see these edged circles like scales. Sometimes the shape reminding us of the different faces of the moon. Noticing how this pattern continues all the way. The ribs getting closer and closer. And then at the very end, at the tail of the serpent, the different structures that would help to suspend this lamp. So for a moment, let's close our eyes or try to imagine this entire lamp in your mind's eye. As you create that mental picture, if you find gaps in your imagination, you can always open your eyes, look at the screen, and then go back that image that you're visualizing. And if you find yourselves holding your breath, free the breath, let it happen on its own. And now let's go on to imagine that we're suspending this lamp onto a hook. This lamp acquires a somewhat sculptural quality. Parts of it suspended and surrendering to gravity. The hook holding it up against gravity. The balance of these forces allowing the lamp to stay up in the air. And whenever there's a gentle draft of wind, the lamp swaying to that. So in our current posture, can we find similarities between this lamp and the body itself? Like, where do you notice the body transferring its weight through gravity onto the supports underneath? And where do you notice the body rising against gravity on the foundations of these supports? What is the balance between these opposing forces, creating the posture that your body is presently in? Now we'll take a few deep breaths. Feel free to practice Ujjayi breathing, softly engaging the throat as you breathe in and out. Now, can we imagine the volume and the space inside the body? It's challenging to do that for the entire body all at once. Let's observe the inner volume and space, part by part, beginning with the feet. Just notice all that cave like space within the body. To then gently move your awareness from the feet through the lower legs, through your knees, into the thighs and the feet. Into the torso, into your arms, into your neck and head. And then take your time to integrate awareness of the inner space and volume within the entire body. As you breathe in, Notice the belly naturally expanding. And as you breathe out, notice the belly naturally softening in towards the spine. It's almost as if the air that you're breathing in being transformed here at your core. All of this energy is acquiring the qualities of fire in the form of warmth, in the form of the digestive fire, the ability to digest not just food, but also your thoughts, emotions. So can we visualize this light in the core by any color of our choice? So each exhale, as you draw the belly towards the spine, like you're guiding this light towards your spine, like a lamp lit inside the cave. This energy, this light entering the cave of the spine. And then let's simply imagine this light penetrating the spine at the base. Then it starts rising up through the center of the spine. Imagine this light rising up like nectar or honey through the center of the spine, through the lumbar spine, through the lumbar spine and the lower back, to the middle back, the spine there, up into the thoracic spine and the upper back. Rising up through the neck, the cervical spine, all the way up to the crown, kind of like in the center of the brain. For the next few breaths, just visualize this light filling up the center of the spine. Through that, the whole spine being lit up. Imagine this light forming a flame at the top of the head where the crown is. Flame representing light of consciousness. And in that awareness, you may open your eyes and look at the lamp and see how it speaks to you now. How do you relate to these ribs on the underside of the snake's body? Imagine the slithering movement of the snake. How does it relate to that light's movement within your own spine? What do you notice about the lamp now that you visualize the flame at the crown? When making these connections feels complete, let's go back to our body, come back to the spine and the flame. Just imagine this light moving out into the entire body from the spine to illuminate the head, the neck, the shoulders, and the arms. To illuminate the torso and the legs. Like the cave that must have been illuminated with this Naga oil lamp. May the light of consciousness illuminate every space inside your body. May this light radiate out. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. Know yourselves as this light, so we can be this light through this day, through the time to come, as we embrace every experience life is about to offer us. And to that, may we join our palms and bow to that light within ourselves. May we bow to the creative energy of the artist or the artisans who must have created this Naga oil lamp in the 14th century. May we bow to the energy, the light of all the teachings of yoga and the teachers of yoga through whom we receive these teachings. Finally, may we bow to the light that shines through each one of us here in this practice today. The light in me honors the light in you. Thank you all so very much for sharing your presence and practice with me today. In a moment, I'll share with you the link on the Freer Sackler website to this particular object. And now we'll go back to Emma. So if you have questions, I see there were some questions already. So if you have more questions, please post them to the chat. And Emma, would you like me to read out those questions for you, or would you like to do it yourself?
If you'd like to read them, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. So we have a question from Andrew about dimensions. And for that, Andrew, is it okay if I post a link in the chat to this object so you can see these details there? And just a moment.
Yeah, that has the exact dimensions, but it's a little over a foot in height. And I don't know the exact weight offhand, but it is weighty.
Right. And Emma, Linda wants to know, would smoke or fire come out of the mouth wound?
Oh, that's a great question. There are incense burners from the Middle East, especially. We have some in the galleries that would have had smoke coming out of the mouth. With the Naga lamp, that wouldn't have been the case because the fire is on top of the head, right? So any smoke that was coming out would have come out the top. It wouldn't filter through the body.
And Barbara wants to know, would other creatures or beings be used in the design of these lamps? Like if there were multiple lamps in a temple, would they all be of the same design, or there would be more different designs?
That's a great question, and there are many surviving oil lamps like this from that period and from East Java, and they are in all different forms. Some of them have mythical or legendary characters on them, so they enact little scenes. Some of them have a prominent motif is Garuda, the eagle, the divine eagle that belongs to Vishnu. Sometimes Vishnu is shown riding on Garuda. The Naga is a very popular symbol. We see the Naga in not only in lamps, but also in ritual vessels. But these can have all different types of shapes and forms, some animal, some human or divine.
And Tim wants us to give a link to your Southeast Asia interactive map that I must have read out from your bio.
Why don't I do that quickly, because
Sure.
I can find it very quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while Emma does that, I could share a little bit about the inspiration for our meditation today. So many of you who are yoga practitioners might have heard about Kundalini awakening in yoga. So Kundalini is thought to be this source of the prana, the vital force. And this energy is often depicted as a serpent who's coiled about 3.5 times at what seems to be the base of the spine. So in that sense, the serpentine shape of this lamp also has a connection, and that kind of inspired our meditation today. It is said that when the Kundalini is awakened through austere yogic practices, she rises from the base of the spine, traveling all the way up in the crown, where she's supposed to merge with Shiva, the primary, the masculine aspect, and that is supposed to give liberation from the cycle of birth and death, as per Tantra Yoga. And I'd be happy to talk more about it on our Monday meditation after our practice. But now let's go back to Emma. And Emma just shared the 2 links to the website and the interactive map. So anyone who's interested, please do take a look at that. And let us know if you have any questions.
You'll find the map as one of the tile options on the main Southeast Asia Collections website. So I gave you that general link and then also the direct link to the map.
And Emma, while we wait for more questions, I have a question myself. I was curious, does this lamp have by any means a sort of a hole or something that you can just fill with oil? So, and the wick just goes like really long into that body of the Naga. So the lamp just stays burning for very long periods of time.
I don't believe that was how it was used. I also believe that the body itself is solid, which is part of why it's so heavy. So it's not hollow on the inside. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the lamp would really go in that dish, but that's also, we see that in, in Indian butter lamps as well. We have we have a pair of South Indian donor figures that function as lamps, which actually I believe I think I've spoken about here, or maybe we were talking about doing
I think we meditated to that. I think you're talking about Deepa Lakshmi, which we did a meditation and spotlight talk last year around Diwali.
Right. That's right. And so these 2 donor figures, they hold exactly this type of pear-shaped dish, which would have been, again, filled with probably ghee in South India, and then the wick would go in. Yeah.
And Joan asks, is there a lid on the lamp?
No, there isn't. That dish would stay open, and the ghee or the oil would burn down and then simply be refilled. There wouldn't be any kind of a cover on it.
And we have a question from Barbara Tracy. Near the end of the tongue, there is a bar that is the same design as the bar that connects the lamp to the Naga's back. Is the bar by the tongue structural to see that the tongue doesn't break off?
Let's look at it again together. Okay, so we're looking at here, right? And also here, yes, yeah. So it's functional and decorative. It is certainly a connecting link and something that stabilizes the tongue, because that would be a very precarious and weak part of the bronze cast. But it also, the artist has taken the opportunity to put this kind of spiral curlicue on, which also echoes the form on the Naga here. And this can give this indication of kind of waves and water and undulation that echoes throughout the entire body. But that's a good good observation. I do see one more.
Can anyone tell me what this is made of?
Yes, this is bronze. It's bronze and it's cast bronze. I see a question of whether it is carved or cast. So it's cast, and the body is solid. Now, to create these kind of the scales and the detailing, these would have been incised probably after the fact because they're very shallow. But the ribs of the underside would be cast directly on.
And Emma, we have a question from Mark. He asks, why the sharp teeth on the Naga? Is it fierce, evil, or protective? I know that the Nagas gave shade to the Buddha, but are they also trickster or devil figures?
So they have this powerful protective aspect. They are fierce, but there are many fierce and ferocious deities throughout South and Southeast Asia, and that ferocity is about energetic protection, right? Intense protection. In Tibetan Buddhism, these kinds of energies are often likened to a mother watching her child run out into the street, right? That rushing towards them and kind of grabbing them and saying, "What could you? How could you do that?" comes from this intense love and desire to protect, right? So these kind of fierce deities, the sharp teeth, the image of potential ferocity is about power and protection. It's not about, it's not a kind of trickster or devil figure, but it has the potential for danger. So the answer is sort of yes to all these aspects.
And Sarina, you've asked about Deepa Lakshmi. So just give me a moment as I share with you the museum page, which will take you to the object. So this is the pair of fortune lamps that we practiced meditation to last Diwali. And I'm trying to pull out the meditation on YouTube if you'd like to see that.
Great. Thank you, Aparna. And I see one more question. Is each of these lamps unique? Yes. The bronze casting method makes it such that they cannot be replicated. The mold itself is destroyed in the process of casting. And the scale is, it's a little bit over a foot high. It's 13 inches or 33 centimeters. And in order to find the object details and the description and label text, when it's not in full screen, you scroll down. When you open the page, it doesn't look like there's anything besides the image, but if you get out of that window and scroll down, you'll find it.
And we have time for one last question. Tim asks, have any of the artists been identified?
If only. From 14th century East Java, these were massive workshops of artisans. The credit went to the king primarily for building the temples and making everything that was used within it. So we don't know the names of the artists, unfortunately.
Well,
but I think that Aparna showed us today that we can appreciate their work, we can thank them for their work. And by learning about these objects and recognizing the kind of sophisticated techniques that they used to create them and the flourishes that they took the opportunity to add to them, we honor them in that way.
Absolutely. And I'm just struck by the similarities between the casting and the breaking of the mold, kind of like similar to the snake shedding its old skin and emerging out. So, yeah. And one quick question, Emma. Andrew asked, religion at this time? I think it must have been Hinduism or Buddhism.
So in East Java, it was a kind of unique fusion of Hinduism and Buddhism, mostly Shaivism, so worship of Shiva, and the Buddha. These were equally important deities who often figured simultaneously together.
Oh. Well, let's all be mindful of Emma's time, and we're so grateful to have you here, Emma, for answering all these questions. And if you all have more questions, don't hesitate to write to me, and I can pass it on to Emma, or Grace can then pass it on to Emma. And about the Kundalini, if you have any questions, do note them down. We can come back to them on our Monday practice. So after we finish our meditation this Monday, we'll have some time to chat about the Kundalini and the awakening the Kundalini and practices like that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Emma. Wish you all a very, very wonderful, peaceful, relaxed weekend. Until we meet again this Monday. Take care. Namaste. Peace be to all. Thank you.